Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for everyone to log on. This is the IBBC webinar from MSELECT. Just give it a minute more while they're still logging on. Two more to come. Okay, I think we're nearly there. Good morning from Britain, good evening in Iraq, and very early morning to everyone else. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to welcome you all to the IBBC webinar, part of our Introduction to Members series that we are holding at the moment. We have a lot of members on board, which is great. We have 59 people signed up so far, and that shows a very healthy interest in this subject. Today, we are listening to David Tanorji, who is the Business Communications Manager of MSELECT. And MSELECT are new members to IBBC, but have just undertaken this very extensive survey, and possibly the first proper survey of employment, requirement, demand, and dynamics within Iraq. It covers the whole of Iraq, and over 500 companies have been involved with this. David's going to go into some detail on this, but I think there's some really interesting immediate observations, which we'll probably talk about. But to me, this looks like the Iraqi economy is going through a very strong evolution at the moment. And maybe David can illuminate where the changes are, possibly beyond oil and gas, for example. We will be holding questions, which I think you can put as we go through. Hopefully at the end, we'll have time for questions. The presentation will also be available on our website. It is available on the IBBC website. You're welcome to download it. And David will also provide contacts if you want to immediately get in contact with him. So for the moment, I'd just like to welcome members again, and I'd like to hand over to David Tanorji, who will take us through the Iraq Employment Outlook Survey 2022. David, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Hi, everyone. My name is David. I'm the Business Communication Manager at MSELECT. And today we're going to introduce to you the Iraq Employment Outlook Survey for the first half of 2022. So just to give a quick brief about MSELECT, to introduce MSELECT, MSELECT is a fully integrated staffing agency established back in 2012. With 4 offices in the country and 3 offices international. We provide a wide range of staffing services, including recruitment. This is, of course, applicable for locals and expats. Of course, also we provide outsourced services, mainly payroll. Currently, we are payrolling over 1,200 employees all over Iraq. These contractors are under MSELECT contract, of course. And we outsource also a service to the client. We outsource the business, especially for the early stage companies who are coming to the Iraqi market. They can outsource their departments through us, if it's sales, marketing, finance, or technical. Also, we have the HR consultancy, which is employment advisory overall. Also for the new entrants companies coming to Iraq, we can provide HR consultancy. We can provide employment advisory on the employment contracts, salary survey, and advice on the Iraqi labor law. And also we have the learning and development side of MSELECT, which is a training facility providing public courses, private courses to corporates. Most of our courses are internationally certified, and we provide these courses in the MSELECT offices or at the client premises. And also, we are a proud IBBC member since November 2021. And today, I want to thank Ashley and the IBBC guys to give us the opportunity to introduce to you the Iraq Employment Outlook Survey, which we will go through right away. So without any further delay, I'm going to go through the report, which covers the first half of 2022, and it will indicate and it will show all the employment outlook that we are observing in the Iraqi market for the first 6 months. So I will start with the summary. just to clarify, this employment outlook survey was conducted by reaching out to over 500 employers across Iraq. This is applicable to all of Iraq, and we reach out to all the local and international companies with different sizes, from micro to small, medium, and big companies. So the Outlook survey shows the employers across Iraq are planning to hire. And when we did the survey, and the feedback we got from these companies was really good, as the numbers indicating that 78% of the companies all over Iraq, from the companies who participated in the survey, are planning to hire. Of course, 41% of these companies, this feedback is coming from the large size organizations. When we say large size organizations, we're talking about over 250 employees. The shocking information that we got is, as you all know, Iraq is an oil and gas country. Yet the highest and the strongest outlook we got was from the telecom industry, which comes with 85% of the companies who participated in the survey are planning to hire. Second, we have the oil and gas with 83%, followed by retail, NGOs, industrial, and hospitality, 75%, and technology, professional services, FMCG, energy, and manufacturing with 60-70. The lower hiring expectation, I will go to the weakest outlook, is coming from banking, healthcare, education, financial services, and automotive with 15 to 20%. This employment survey also indicating the most in-demand skills, let's call it, and the highest skill in demand currently is for accounting, which is taking around 40%. From the data we received from this survey. And this is not shocking. This is something we have been seeing in the Iraqi market years now, that the local skills are still missing the accounting skills that reflects to the companies. And of course, there are reasons for this, for the accounting and also for the engineering, which comes with 36.36%, and this is across all industries. This is something we discussed also previously in one of the conferences that we had with IBBC, is the lack of connection between the skill that the fresh graduates are getting from universities to reflect the market needs. Also, in this employment outlook survey, we have been checking also what is the normal on the working after the COVID-19 pandemic. Previously, the hybrid working or the remote working was not that common to have, well, actually internationally, especially in Iraq. But after the pandemic, we can see that there are some changes in here. So the survey is indicating that hybrid working has been highly adopted. Some employers are expect 65% of the administrative office support and 63% of human resources personnel to work at hybrid. When we say hybrid, this means mix of workplace and remote. It could be 2 days home, 3 days at the office, 3 days at home, 2 days at the office, that depends. However, employers are not offering this for all roles, and which makes sense actually. Finance and accounting, production, and manufacturing personnel are expected to work fully in the workplace, and this is also something we expected. I mean, a factory or a manufacturing organization, they will need the people to be at the factory to work on the production, if it's a production line or exploration line for oil and gas. So this is something we were expecting, and we did see in the Outlook survey. Also, this survey and the questions that we have in this survey, we wanted to know if the companies are expecting to mandate the vaccination, and we got a 50% of employer are expecting to mandate double vaccination and the booster shot, alongside asking for a proof of vaccination, especially in the oil and gas sector. So when we say employer expecting to mandate double vaccination and the booster shot is one thing, and other companies are expecting to see at least a proof of 2 vaccination, because currently in Iraq, 2 vaccination will give you the certificate. However, for the oil and gas sector, the booster shot is required, and none of the employees are eligible to enter the work site unless they have the booster shot and they have a proof of this. Last but not least, more than 60% of employers in Iraq are not expecting any changes from their salaries and wage systems, at least for the first half 2022. This part is focusing, we did ask this question actually, and we did add this part to our employment survey, just to see how the currency devaluation affecting the salaries. So 60% of employers are not expecting to change anything in the salaries, which could be a good indicator and a bad indicator. A good indicator that no one is decreasing salaries. A bad indicator that the people who are getting their salaries in Iraqi dinar get a 15 to 20% decrease because of the currency devaluation. So I'm going to go quickly through the figures and the metrics that we have, and then I will be open to any questions. So I will start with the employment outlook, which we discussed which I introduced in the executive summary. As you can see, 70% of the companies are planning to hire, 19% are planning to keep the workforce, 3% didn't decide yet, they just want to see and test the market. And the good thing is 0% are expecting to lay off, so no one is losing their job in the first half of 2022. Also, the growth that we are expecting across industries, as mentioned above, telecom is having the highest plan to hire with 85%, and plan to keep workforce level steady at 15%. Again, as mentioned, 0% are expecting to lay off. Oil and gas at 83%, retail, NGOs, industry and hospitality are sharing 75%. Technology, professional services, FMCG, and energy also sharing the 67%, and the numbers as you can see in here. For banking and financial services, as you can see, it's the weakest outlook at 15% plan to hire, and 85% are planning to keep. This is something we are expecting because the financial services are not that common yet. I mean, only the let's call the international companies or the companies who are required to provide audit financials, let's say, or any kind of financial services, they use these kind of companies. The rest are just hiring people and they do this in-house. And for the banking system, this is something have been always affecting the banking sector in Iraq, which are the sanctions that the banking have. And these we consider are restrictions for expanding the services that they have. This is the same, also indicating the same numbers in an easiest way to see. Again, as mentioned, 41% of the 78% expecting to hire, this feedback is coming from the large companies with more than 250 employees. 38% is coming from medium companies, 14% from small, and 7% from micro. It is quite expected from the micro because mainly these are startups and they are still in the early stage and they don't have this much of big operation. However, the 41% from the large company is beneficial for the micro and small companies, because the large companies to operate will need micro and small companies to support in their services. Of course, this employment outlook survey was conducted all over Iraq. So now we have the metrics and the numbers indicating from where we are having these numbers by region and by location, let's say. So we have 92.31% of the companies who participated in this survey from the Kurdistan region are planning to hire. 85.71% from the companies who participated are planning to hire in federal Iraq, and for the companies who operate in both, we have around 61%. 0%, as mentioned, are expecting to lay off workers, and the rest of the percentages, the rest of numbers are planning to keep the workforce steady. It's around 7% for Kurdistan, 14.5% for federal Iraq, and 30.77% for the companies who operate in both. The hiring expectation for January to June, as you can see, we have the highest number is for the companies who operate in the Kurdistan region. Also for this, there is a reason. I mean, a lot of companies having their headquarters in Kurdistan and operates all over Iraq. However, employers which is solely operate in Kurdistan region are expecting to have the highest hiring. Now we go to the vaccine expectations for the on-site return. As mentioned, 26% of the companies are planning to require proof of double vaccination and booster shot. Mainly, most of these companies are coming from oil and gas, which we will see next. 34% of the companies are mandating double vaccination and require proof of all employer role. Proof of double vaccination will be required for some employees role, but not for all. So to explain this, they are requiring double vaccination, but this is not applicable to all the employees in the different sectors. Actually, mainly for hospitality and healthcare, they are mandating double vaccination for the people who are interacting with customers, with clients. And 20% are urging vaccination by highlighting the benefit, but not mandating it, of course. And 20%, it's up to an individual to decide. This is also a great outlook on the vaccination. This means that people are more familiar now with the necessity of having the vaccine and to protect themselves and others. These percentages are coming from plan to require proof of double vaccination and booster shot. You can see it coming the highest from the power, oil and gas, and energy. Power, oil and gas, energy are mandating double vaccination and booster shot so the people can get into the sites. The second comes from education, healthcare, and hospitality. And third is coming from banking and financial services. It is expected also from banking because they have a daily interaction with clients. And then we have the mandating double vaccination and require proof for all employees, but not asking for a booster shot. It's coming from the industrial, FMCG, and automotive, the highest. Urge vaccination by highlighting the benefit, but not mandating, is coming the highest from the multi-sector group and professional services. Also, it's coming from the power and oil and gas services companies, not the operators. And up to individuals, the highest rates we're having at the same level from banking, industrial, and non-governmental organizations. The vaccine expectation by regions coming the highest from the federal Iraq, and also this is expected because the highest number of the oil operators are based in the south and mid of Iraq. So this employment was affected by the oil and gas, also companies who are based in there. Second, coming from companies operating both, and third is coming from the Kurdistan region. Also for the companies that mandating vaccination, I mean the federal Iraq have no plans on mandating, and mandating vaccination, is coming the highest from the companies who operate in both, and then Kurdistan and federal Iraq almost the same. Also, we have the companies who are urging employees to have the vaccination, also coming at almost the same percentages from federal Iraq and Kurdistan region, and coming from companies who operate in both. And the companies that doesn't have plan yet to mandate the vaccination is coming the highest from federal Iraq, and then companies both and less from Kurdistan region. Now talking about the shift to hybrid working, which we call it now the new normal for the companies to operate. As you can see, for the finance and accounting function, 22% of the companies are asking the employees to work remotely all the time. 26 of the companies are asking to have a hybrid. So this means, let's call it half of the working week to be from home, the other half they should attend the office, and 25% are mandating and asking these employees to be in the office. The same is applicable for the administrative and office support. 11% can work remotely. 65% can work on a hybrid working term, and only 8% asking employees to come to the office. Human resources also are having a high number with 22% remotely, 63% coming from the hybrid, and 21% to be in the workplace all the time. Now the numbers, as you can see, the last two coming from frontline sales, front office, and customer facing. 0% are asking employees to work from home, which is expected because it's a daily interaction with clients. 10% are asking to have work remotely, and 55% are asking to have these employees working in the workplace all the time. For the production and manufacturing, we have 0% for work remotely and hybrid, and they are asking 100% of the companies are asking employees to join at the workplace. The rest of the figures are for the companies who didn't decide yet, and they are just still checking what is the effect of the COVID-19 and if the pandemic is getting, the pandemic effect is getting better these days. And now to the most important part for me in this employment survey is the skill shortage. As mentioned previously, the highest shortage we are facing now is with the accounting and engineering. After that, we're having the managerial and the C-level, as you can see, and project management. So when we say project management, managerial, C-level, and this means that we have a shortage in skills in the seniors up to the C-level in these in the companies, and that's a shortage in skill. It could be shortage in experience, shortage in the education or the background experience that they have internationally. And coming then after that, the supply chain and procurement, because we saw and we noticed, and of course, when we say skill shortage, we are talking about the local workforce. So that's why most of the companies are getting expats to fulfill these positions and get the required service. Last but not least, we also added the question asking about the currency devaluation impact. So we noticed that 66 up to 67, it's like 66 point, which is round up to 67% of the companies are keeping the salaries the same, and 33% revising salaries. When we say 67% of the companies are keeping the same, again, this could be a positive or a negative vibe, either ways. It could be a positive, no salary decrease, but it could be negative impact because the devaluation caused a 15 up to 20% loss on the currency on the currency value. This means they got a 20 or 15 to 20% decrease on the salaries. Revising salaries is 33%. Also, this could be a positive or negative. Revising salaries could be an increase or decrease. That depends on the effect that these companies got because of the currency devaluation. Of course, this is applicable to all people who are all employees who are getting their salaries in Iraqi dinars, because and it doesn't affect at the same percentage for the people who are getting their salaries in USD, Euro, or GBP. And just to give a brief and a closure for this report, and this report is independent, so the survey was conducted with a representative sample of employers from Iraq, and the survey participants are not derived from MSELECT client base, and it's a robust, so this sample alone to analyze. So this report is based on numbers, based on a feedback. So the information mentioned there are all legit, based on the market and the company's experience, and it's focused. The survey has derived information from one main question: how do you anticipate total employment at your location to change in the 6 months to the end of June 2022 as compared to the last half? So it was like a comparison between the previous and what they are expecting to have. This would be the end of the report. I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, it will be my pleasure to answer. Back to you, Ashley.
Thank you very much, David. That's quite a lot of information to take on board there. So I'm sure people will be interested to have a look at this in more detail. If anybody wants to ask a question, they can possibly put a question in the chat, which is down at the bottom here. We'll be welcome for that. Maybe I could just kick off with a couple of thoughts. And actually, in terms of the Iraqi economy, this is quite an interesting overview. Not only, obviously, we're used to oil and gas being a key driver, but we're seeing a much wider range of sectors developing here, particularly consumer-facing ones, such as FMCG, hospitality, telecoms to an extent. So do you see this a modernization in some sense, or a broadening of the Iraqi economy here, David?
Indeed, actually, usually we used to have the highest number of expecting to hire from oil and gas. Shockingly, lately, the telecom sector, as you can see in here, took the highest rate of 85% expecting to hire. And second, we have the oil and gas. There is a growth in the Iraqi market, and it's not only for oil and gas. There is a growth in the retail, there is a growth in the FMCG and energy, and of course, NGOs and hospitality. What shocked us actually the most is the hospitality, because people now believing more that hospitality is needed in the Iraqi market. When we say hospitality, I'm talking about hotels, restaurants. Where the telecom industry is expecting the strongest outlook, because international companies now are approaching the Iraqi market to support the local operators for internet, for GSM. 5G is coming soon. So international companies are approaching the Iraqi market and growing their businesses in Iraq to support these companies and to have their own operations as well. That's a growth in the Iraqi market, and that's a good indicator to see that hopefully, if not soon, the near soon, the count on the oil and gas only will be dismissed, and the variety of the sectors growing in the Iraqi market will be different.
Thank you. So also what you're suggesting is a lot more inward investment coming into Iraq, the confidence of international companies moving in, which is, again, a very good sign.
Yeah, actually, it's a great sign, because when we say international companies, we are talking about the massive big companies, over 250 employees. These companies, when they approach a country, they start the operation, they are not here for a short term, they are here for a long term. And this is what we are expecting to see. And we are seeing this as an as the leading employment agency in the country, because these companies usually approach us ahead of entering the market, and we have a view on this on the next 6 months, how it's going to be, what kind of investment they are planning to have, and what is the range of their investment, and everything is coming quite big.
Thank you. We've got 1 or 2 questions here. The first one is from Peter Turner. He says, were the 500 employees surveyed all in the private sector? All the employers, were they all private sector employers?
Yes, all private sector, but when we say private, we didn't approach government entities. It was for private sector, international and local.
Okay, thank you. Bassam El Kadri says, how much were from oil and gas? Did you also interview the workforce as well?
Yes, actually, from oil and gas, we are expecting an 83%. Expecting to hire, and of course this is coming from all over Iraq, from companies who operate in federal Iraq and the Kurdistan region. Sorry, but the other question was...
Yeah, the question, how many were from, what percentage I think he was interested in from oil and gas?
Yeah, the percentage is 85%.
No, I mean how many companies of the whole range of all the companies?
We approach
percentage of oil and gas?
We approach all the companies who operate in Iraq. We hope and the percentage of the companies, you mean, that participated in this survey?
Yes, yeah. Was it 20% oil and gas, or was it 50% or 10%, or what was the kind of relative percentage?
No, actually, you can go up to 15%. The percentage.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
500, of course. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
thanks very much. And then one from Victoria Lindsay here says that the skills gap and the fact that companies employ international staff to fill this gap. Says, was there any evidence of employers undertaking any training to grow Iraqi skills to evolve this? So
yes. To answer this question, we did see, I mean, especially that we do have the learning and development side of MSELECT. Many companies are approaching us to upskill their employees to make sure that they have the skill that reflects the needs of their companies. So the training sector is growing also in Iraq, because again, the fresh graduates are graduating but not having the skills to reflect the needs of the market. Here you can see the training provider's role in providing tailor-made, let's call it, training courses, and providing learning and education and development for these fresh graduates so they can meet. This is something we are seeing and observing all over the country, not only in our operating. I mean, we operate all over Iraq, but this is something we are seeing not only from MSELECT, from all the training providers.
Thank you. And as from Vicky Thorne says, can you share the context of the resourcing model companies adapt in the oil and gas industry? It says, do individuals employing contingent labor or permanent staff? I'm sure.
No, I mean, is this question, sorry to clarify, is related?
I think she's asking what's the context of result? What model do they use in oil and gas? So do they have permanent or contract contingent staff?
For locals, most of the hiring are permanent, and usually it's yearly contracts renewable. When it comes to expat roles, that depends on the need. I mean, usually they go minimum with the 6 months up to 1 year. So that's and consider it a sustainable employment, not a short term.
Okay, that's really healthy. There's a permanent drive at the moment. I was just wondering whether with hybrid working, whether companies might start to think, well, we don't need permanent staff. We can just input them from outside, plug them into our IT system and off they go. Any sense of hybrid working creating more of a sort of, contract labor or not?
No, actually, it didn't affect the labor market that much, the hybrid or the remote. We are still having local employees supporting, and actually the demand on the local employees are higher than ever, because again, the training providers are upskilling these employees. The companies knows that they can upskill the fresh graduates so they can fit into these positions. So no, the hybrid didn't drive the companies to use to outsource their departments from foreign companies. No, they are focusing more on the local workforce.
It's interesting what you say about skills, because in IBBC we have a big drive to integrate skills with universities, with training, with companies. So I think it's a big area for plugging a lot of the gaps that you're seeing here. How else would you do that? Mohammed Al-Uzri will be driving our side of this, and there's a lot of debate going on here. So people interested in that could be in touch with us. Another question here: vast majority of oil and gas in Iraq, non-work scope. Do you have model for the rotation type of work for the local workforce?
Yes. The rotation type of work is also applicable for local workforce. It's happening 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or it could be 28-28. But yeah, this is not only applicable. Once the skill is available locally, we always go with the local workforce. Once this skill is missed, then we go to the international with the same conditions for both.
Could I just put a question in about inflation? It's a big issue around the developed world, and I suspect also in Iraq. Obviously, there's a lot more income from oil. On the other hand, cost of food because of the conflict going on at the moment in Ukraine is being driven up, amongst other things. If you have a strong inflationary area and you have a lot of opportunities for jobs, can you see therefore a lot of people switching jobs rapidly to increase their salary? And you mentioned earlier that actually a lot of people weren't planning to increase salaries. That might actually become quite an issue quite quickly. Any comments on that?
Yes, of course. Well, actually, we did. Yes, true that 67% of the companies are not planning to increase the salaries. However, even other companies who are offering jobs are not increasing. So this is applicable for all the companies, not only for the companies who are hiring currently. The inflation did affect the Iraqi market. I will start with the currency devaluation, which is around 15 to 20%. And you have also the market, the economy devaluation, which is approximately to 8%, and the current crisis that the world is having. This did cause an increase in the food prices, especially the oil and butter and many other items. And however, it's not the same for oil and gas, because the prices of the Iraqi oil and gas increased since the start of this crisis. That's why companies are more likely to focus on the Iraqi oil and gas. And it's available, it's there, and the companies are operating. So to answer your question, people are not changing jobs a lot currently to get an extra salary because the situation is affecting all the companies. So the salaries range that we have for the vacancies is quite the same from all the providers. So it should be actually really interesting offer for employees to leave, especially that when you have the job safety.
Someone here is pointing out about was the high rate not revising the salaries is because they're being paid in US dollars.
No, actually, this is coming from the companies who are paying in Iraqi dinars, but also the currency devaluation affected their own production, their own operation. So if this is affecting the company's operation and they are having a devaluation on their income, less 15%, they won't be able to increase the salaries to meet up. So they are considering this that, look, that's a crisis that's affecting all of us together, the company and the employees, and we all should take a hit, let's call it. Yeah.
Okay. Poriko Hanley, who runs the Iraq Business News, a very excellent publication, is surprised to see that construction expectations were low, given the need for both housing and civil infrastructure. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. We actually, if you go to the north part of Iraq, you will see everywhere construction work is happening, new buildings are getting up. But the problem is most of the companies who are implementing and building these projects are foreign companies, they are not local companies. So the only thing they are doing, they are outsourcing the laborers, the workmen who will be working on the ground. However, when you start with the supervisor, engineers to the project manager, they are coming and hired by the company who are hired to do this project. And most of these companies are from outside of Iraq. That's why you will see also in the engineering part, we have a low expectation on hiring because the engineers that are currently graduating are facing unemployment issue because of the non-Iraqi companies who are doing these projects currently.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we may have reached the end of the questions. David, I'd like to, is there anything you'd like to finish with? Yeah.
Yes, from Alan, I think also.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
Paid less. Well, actually, that depends on the experience. For most of the times, they are paid less, but when we say paid less, that depends on the experience. I will give you an example. A 25 years of experience with a drilling superintendent is not the same with 5 years of experience with the drilling superintendent. And the problem is having a 25 years of experience with a local superintendent is almost impossible. So yeah, they are paid less, but not because of the nationality. They are paid less because of the qualification only.
So thank you, David. Are you really short of high quality staff at the moment? And then this suggests there's a huge requirement at the moment.
It is a huge requirement, and we are facing a shortage in skill. But to be frank, it's not the same as before. Before we faced this shortage more and more, and now we are seeing that the skilled locals who have the skills required to do the job the percentage is getting higher and higher by day. And this is something also we are observing because we do need to know this information for us as an employment staffing agency. And we do have high hopes on the second employment survey, which will be conducted end of June, because the Iraq Employment Outlook Survey is something we do bi-yearly. So by the end of this year, we will also be publishing the second half, and hopefully we will have higher numbers on the skills shortage.
Fascinating. Is there anything you'd like to add, David, just as a final message?
Yes. Just to add as a final message, we think from our own experience, and we have been operating in the Iraqi market for 10 years, that this employment survey that we have now is one of the best. It's actually the best metrics that we ever saw in the Iraqi market. And we are observing, and we are working actually with these international companies. So what we are expecting is much better numbers for the second half of the year, especially with the let's call it the less effect of the pandemic of the COVID-19. So fingers crossed. And I just also want to add, if anyone have any other questions related to the survey, even later, I'm sharing my email address now and my phone number. So you can reach out and ask any questions. It will be my pleasure to answer.
David, thank you very much indeed. I know you whizzed through a lot of data there. For anybody who wishes to see the whole script, they can look at access it from the MSELECT and from the IBBC website. Thank you. Just also to say that very good to see so many members on this, and that we hope to see all of you at the spring conference in the Mansion House on the 24th of May, which looks like being possibly one of our biggest Invest conferences. Lots of different sectors. We have some serious oil ministers turning up, finance ministers, sports ministers, education ministers. It's a very powerful conference. So do sign up via our website. There are also becoming limited amounts of seats available. So the sooner the better. Just to say thank you once again, David, and thank you all very much for attending, and see you before too long for the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.